and girls. I'm really glad to see you again for another story time. Tell me something. Have you been keeping warm lately? It is so cold outside, isn't it? We've had to find lots of things to do inside lately, haven't we? Haven't been able to go outside without freezing after too very long, right? So while we're inside, we're doing things like maybe baking special foods. Have you done that? Any of that? Maybe made some cookies or something. Maybe you've been coloring pictures. Maybe you've been reading books. That's a good one. We've been doing some baking around here, and it got me thinking. And so one of the stories that I'm going to tell you today is about baking. So I hope you'll enjoy that. I hope you'll enjoy everything today, and I think we should go ahead and get started, right? Here we go. Clap your hands if you love stories. Clap your hands, I know you do. I'm so glad that we could be together. Glad to share a story time with you. Here is our first story. And in this story, there's going to be a problem that they're going to have to try to figure out how to solve. Maybe if you listen, you can figure out how they'll solve it before I get to the end. All right? So once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a poor man. He didn't have a whole lot of money or things to buy great big meals or even middle-sized meals, so he was pretty hungry. Well, one day, he was walking out along the streets, and he passed where there was a bakery. Have you ever gone near a bakery and taken a big sniff and smelled all the cookies and the cakes and the pies and the bread, and it just smells really good? Well, that's what this poor man did. As he was walking past, he smelled the smell of fresh baked bread just coming out of the oven. And he paused where he was walking, and he took a deep sniff. And he took another one because it was so good. It was wonderful. And then he straightened his shoulders and started to walk on. But before he could take more than a few steps, he heard someone yelling, "Hey! Hey! You! Stop!" And the baker ran out of the store and grabbed the poor man by the shoulders. And he says, "Stop, thief!" And the poor man was very confused because he hadn't stolen anything. But the baker says, "You need to pay for what you took." "Pay for what?" said the poor man. "For the smell of the bread," said the baker. "What?" said the poor man. He'd never heard of paying for smells. He said, "How can I pay for smells? If I had gone into the bakery and if I'd taken bread off the shelf and left without paying, I could understand why you would be upset. But I don't have any money, and I was just walking by. I couldn't help but smell the bread." And the baker said, "Aha, you admit that you were walking by. I need to tell you, I worked very hard to make the smells of that bread. I woke up very early, before the sun was even out this morning, and I came into my bakery, and I gathered all the wood to start the fire for the oven, and I mixed up the flour and the yeast and the salt, and I kneaded the dough till my hands were tired, and I worked and worked, and everything was just perfect. And only after all of that work do I even get to put the dough into the oven. And that's where it makes it smell. So I worked very hard for that smell, and I want to be paid." And the poor man said, "But you're not working to make the smell, you're working to make the bread. That's what you sell for your trade. And the smell is going to come out whether or not you want it to. You can't make the bread without making the smell." And the baker would not let him go. And the poor man had no money. The baker said, "You did more than just walk by and catch a sniff. You stopped and you took several deep smells." And a crowd of people had gathered by this point, and some of them thought that the baker was being really kind of ridiculous about it, but some of them thought that the poor man had indeed taken advantage of the smell of that bread without paying. And so they argued and could not come to a decision. And so finally they decided they needed to take this matter to the king. And so they went to the king, and first the baker laid his case in front of the king and explained why he felt the poor man should pay him for the smell of that bread. And then the poor man spoke and explained that you cannot charge for smells that float through the air that you cannot help but smell. And the king eventually sighed and said, I have a decision. He took some coins and he gave them to the poor man and said, I'm letting you borrow these. Put them in your pocket. And so the poor man did. And the king said, now, I want you to jingle them so that we can both hear you. So the poor man stuck his hand in his pocket and made the coins jingle, 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 jingle against each other. And then the king looked at the baker and said, you've now received your payment. You may leave. And the baker said, but your majesty, I didn't get anything. And the king said, well, that's nonsense. Just as the poor man received the smell of bread, you have been paid with the sound of money. Now leave my castle. Now tell me, do you think that was the right decision? All right, let's do a rhyme about chocolate chip cookies. And I want you to be a chocolate chip cookie. I'll be one too. All right, here we go. Show me how you're a cookie. I am a great big cookie, chocolatey and round. Can you make round arms? Filled with lots of chocolate chips. Show me how many. The best that can be found. I'm a great big cookie. Take a bite of me. Gooey, sweet, delicious, as tasty as can be. Rub your tummy. I was a great big cookie, the very best around, but now there's nothing left of me, just crumbs on the ground. Let's do that one more time. I am a great big cookie, chocolatey and round, filled with lots of chocolate chips, the best that can be found. I'm a great big cookie, take a bite of me. Gooey, sweet, delicious, as tasty as can be. I was a great big cookie, the very best around, but now there's nothing left of me, just crumbs on the ground. Our second story today is called The Emperor's Seed. That's one of the names of it. It's a folk tale, which means that people would tell other people it rather than writing it down, and so there are lots of different versions of it out there. This folk tale is from China, and I want you to listen and see if you can figure out what's going to happen and what the trick is, okay? So a long time ago, there was an emperor who didn't have any children of his own. And so as he was getting older, he knew that he had to figure out who was going to be emperor after him. And all his advisors suggested that he choose the son of one of his army generals, or maybe the son of one of his wise men. But he said, I think I have a different idea. And so he sent out a message to everyone in the land, asking for all the boys and girls to come to the palace on a certain day. And so on that day, the courtyard was full of boys and girls, eager to hear what the emperor had to say. And the emperor said, the time has come for me to choose who will be emperor after me. To help me make this decision, I have a test. You all know how much I love flowers. Look around the courtyard. You can see, and they looked around and they could definitely see, there were flowers and flowering bushes and flowering trees everywhere they looked. The emperor really loved things that grew. And the emperor said, because I love flowers so much, the test is this. I will give each one of you one of these very special seeds. I want you each to take your seed home and plant it and take the very best care of this seed that you can. I want you to help it grow to be the best plant it can be. And in 6 months, I want you all to come back here and show me what you've managed to grow. The children were all very, very, very excited, and they each took their seeds and went home, ready to make those seeds grow into beautiful flowers. Well, there was one little boy who was very, very determined to grow that seed as best as he could. So he took it home and he put it in some dirt and he watered it and he put it in the sun and he took care to make sure that it didn't get too cold and it didn't get too hot and it never got too much water, but it never got too dry. And he waited day after day to see when it would sprout. And a week went by, and 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, nothing was sprouting in his flower pot. And when he would go into town and he would see the other boys and girls, they were all bragging and telling each other about their wonderful plants that they were growing with their seeds. Mine is already 3 inches high. Oh yeah, well mine is already 4 inches high. He was too embarrassed at first to say what he was not able to do. And so he started avoiding those conversations as much as possible, because he thought, surely I should be able to get a seed to sprout. When the time started getting closer, his mother said, why don't we get another seed and we can plant it and it will grow. Maybe there was something wrong with your seed. And the boy shook his head. He said, that is not what the test was. I'm not going to tell a lie. I'm going to do the best that I can with what I was given and be honest. 6 months later, the day that they were all supposed to meet back at the palace, it was still just a pot of dirt. Not even a single green leaf had come up in that little boy's pot. But he picked up his pot of dirt and carried it with him to the palace. The courtyard was full of boys and girls with beautiful red flowers and yellow flowers and white flowers. Some of them were giant. Some of them were lots and lots of little tiny blossoms. They were all smelling wonderful and so many colors. The eye felt dazzled to see them all. And when the emperor arrived, he walked around and looked into each pot with a nod and a smile, until he finally got to the one little pot that had no flower at all. And he said, tell me, whose pot is this? The other little boys giggled a little bit, but the little boy who had not managed to grow a single plant stepped forward. He was afraid. He thought the emperor might be mad at him, but he wouldn't lie. He said, that's my pot. Nothing grew from the seed for me. And then the emperor's little smile grew until it covered his whole face. And he said, my people, meet your new future emperor. And everyone was so surprised. They said, but he didn't manage to grow any flowers at all. Why would you choose him? And the emperor said, what you don't know is that every seed that I gave out that day had been boiled in very hot water. They were all useless. None of them could grow a flower. This little boy was the only one of you who came here telling the truth today. He showed honesty and he showed courage. And that is what I was looking for. And the little boy was so pleased. And he turned out, one day, years after that, to be one of the best emperors ever. Now I think we're going to do a song that lets us get up and move our bodies so that we can get warm and not be so cold. Shall we? Unfortunately, I can't really get up and do the movements with you while also playing on the ukulele, but they're pretty simple. I don't think you're going to need me to demonstrate too much. When we sing walking, walking, can you just walk in place? Moving your feet. And when I say hop, 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 we're going to put our feet together and jump like a bunny rabbit. And what do you think we're going to do when I say running, running, running? I think you've got that figured out. Or how about when I say tiptoe, tiptoe? You guys are pretty good. Shall we get started? Walking, 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 hop, 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 running, 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 running. Now let's stop. Now let's stop. Walking, 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 hop, 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 running, 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 running. Now let's stop. Now let's stop. Tiptoe, 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 jump, 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 jump. Swimming, 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 swimming. Now let's stop. Now let's stop. Tiptoe, 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 tiptoe. Jump, 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 jump. Swimming, 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 swimming. Now let's stop. Now let's stop. A little faster. Walking, 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 walking. Hop, 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 hop. Running, 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 running. Now let's stop. Now let's stop. Good job. I hope you liked those stories today, and I hope that it gets a little bit warmer for us this week, so maybe we can at least go out and take the dogs for a walk without the dogs wanting to go right back inside right away like mine have been doing. And I hope that you have a great week, and I hope that if you do anything special, that you just send me a little note or drop me a Facebook or a YouTube comment, because I would love to know what you guys are doing to keep yourselves busy and warm this winter. For now, let's get a big stretch. Reach for the ceiling. Ooh. And touch the floor. Stand up again. Let's do some more. Touch your head. And now your knees. Up to your shoulders. Like this, you see. Reach for the ceiling and touch the floor. That's all there is. There isn't any more. Bye, guys. I'll see you next week.